I'm Emily Campagno, along with Jessica Tarloff, Jesse Waters, Shannon Bream, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump is currently overseas in Scotland, but he's also busy cleaning up some major blue city messes back at home. And on two major fronts, the Trump administration is suing New York City and Mayor Eric Adams over its sanctuary city policies. It's in the wake of that horrific migrant crime, two illegal immigrants shooting an off-duty Border Patrol agent in the face. 47 says New York City is just the start.
We're going against a lot of other places, too. We want to bring safety to our cities, but that's going to be a pretty routine filing with other cities, too. As you know, we've started numerous lawsuits with other cities. We want to bring safety. We've got to get the criminals out, and we're doing it in record numbers.
President Trump is also laser focused on cleaning up the homeless crisis that blue cities have refused to tackle. He just signed an executive order to make it easier for cities and local governments to remove homeless people from the streets and get them treatment elsewhere. It's a promise he made on the campaign trail.
We have to take care of our homeless. We have to get them out. This is no good for anybody. It's bad for the people who need help, and it's bad for the people of our city, and it's a horrible, horrible way to live. I want to work in partnership with your local leaders, Democrats, pretty much all, and move the severely mentally ill off your streets and back into a place where they can get help and the help that they desperately need.
Shannon, that strikes me as the first proposal that actually protects citizens and also the unhoused, as the libs call them, which up until now, no amount of money they've pushed at the problem has been effective at actually getting those people off the streets.
Yeah, you're right, because we see reaction from the left. Yesterday, it came in very quickly saying the president is targeting disabled and unhoused people. But as you point out, they've spent so much money. What is their plan? Because in many places, California is a great example, it's only gotten worse. You know who also thinks some of this stuff is a great idea? Is Governor Gavin Newsom. Because do you remember when he went out there and he did like the little cleanup with his little polo on, and he was out saying, we've got to get these encampments out of here? I think part of that is, first of all, the Supreme Court last year said, you can. Cities and states can get out there and clean this stuff up. But also, he's thinking 2028. I got to think cynically, he does not like the optics of people that are strung out and laying around with waste and all kinds of things on the streets of some of the most beautiful cities in his state. So he also agrees with the president on some of this cleanup stuff, but I think he's thinking optics for 2028.
Which, wouldn't that be, Jesse, actually helping the problem? You would think everyone would be on board, and you would think everyone would be on board at the understanding that if you don't play by the rules and follow the law, you'll get your federal funding withdrawn.
Well, they're not on board with the homeless thing because you have these civil libertarians and you have these radical ACLU types that will sue. And they say, you can do whatever you want, wherever you want, with whoever you want it. And it's destroying the city. And these people really were aggressive in litigating these issues for quite some time. And it started in the 70s. And you've seen the permissive attitude, the results of it. And so is it compassionate to let someone slowly kill themselves on a public street corner in front of children? Is that what this society should be? The answer is obviously no. And what the NYPD needs to do in this city and other police precincts need to do it, they need to do mass sweeps, and they need to take these people off the streets, and they need to put them in asylums or centers in the countryside where they're not tempted by all of the disgusting things that happen in the metropolitan area. The potency of narcotics is so much stronger than it used to be. And you combine that with the population growth in these cities where you got bikes and you have cars, it's really dangerous now. And what is the threshold for involuntary commitment? You're a danger to yourself and you're a danger to others. So if you allow someone to pitch a tent on a city street and shoot heroin and then pass out naked in front of everybody and then wake up, howl at the moon, run into the street, get hit by a car, and the police can't do anything about that, you're asking for a lot of trouble. We deserve more. We are the most technologically advanced civilization, the most powerful, the wealthiest. Why don't we have beautiful cities like Paris? Why don't we have safe cities like Copenhagen? Why aren't we clean like Tokyo? It's not too much to ask.
And that's what I don't understand, Jessica, is that when you look at the issue, the answer to that the homeless deserve better. So Seattle pays $1 million a year per homeless person, California $24 billion, with nothing to show other than apparently the nonprofits lining their pockets because those people are still dying on the streets. They deserve to be housed, to be clean, to be sanitary, to be free of sexual assaults. But I don't feel like I hear anyone talking about those arguments. And I'm curious, when inevitably those people sue the Trump administration, what argument are they going to make when this is helping the homeless?
Well, dozens of states have actually changed their policies in the last few years to make sure that you can actually force more people into treatment. That includes a bunch of blue states, including Oregon, which is one of the more liberal states in the country. So this is in line with the national mood, I guess, about it. And here in New York City, and we talked about the Jordan Neely and Daniel Penny case a lot when it was going on, I think that was frankly, a really seminal event in the conversation around what do we do with violent members of the homeless population. Jordan Neely, who unfortunately passed away from that interaction, was on the list, the top 50 most aggressive homeless people in New York City, was threatening people and had done this repeatedly, which is why I think that public sentiment really ended up on the side of Daniel Penny, who kind of sprung into action in defense of himself and the rest of the people on the train car. Now, I'm not sure how much Donald Trump can actually do in terms of implementing this executive order. He's certainly out there saying this is what I want to happen, but we have our own states and our own state laws and procedures. What I think would help a lot is to talk as well about the cuts to programs. So he's taken $1 billion away from mental health services and treatment centers, et cetera. So if you marry those two things up and you really make it clear that you want to make sure that these programs are funded and also that you will be building more affordable housing, which is the crux of so much of this problem. I'm not talking about the person who Jesse described, probably not a real person, but like the average homeless person that you see who would love to be able to get into an apartment if they could.
Don't, Jessica. They don't.
You say that about everyone. I think
I've
if you
interviewed
actually,
these people, and everybody knows they want to do drugs on the
everyone's a crack
street.
addict who just wants to be in an open air
illness and it's drug addiction, Jessica. It's
I'm not
about
saying
housing.
mental illness.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because Greg, so you and I talked about this earlier. That I mean, there's a woefully inadequate amount of state beds for the thousands of people, of those mentally ill. Because the reality is, when we walk up and down 6th Avenue, I'm not seeing people that are just wish for a home. I'm seeing people that are really freaky and really scary, and most importantly, scary to themselves.
Even if the affordability of the house was free, it would be destroyed. These are people that are not interested in affordable housing. They're not interested in housing at all. The average homeless person is not the way the media portrays that person to be. Again, Trump does things that liberals will say they don't like, but are secretly grateful for. He did this with the border. He did that with trans and sports, and he's doing it here. Libs don't like doing this stuff because they don't want to lose their status as the compassionate liberal, because they're infected with this, what Gad Saad calls suicidal empathy, employing such destructive, wrong-headed compassion that it actually is at the expense of your own survival, your family's survival, the survival of a culture. You can't have a civil society with pockets of chaos in there. When you look at like homelessness and illegal immigration and urban decay and even our education system, these are huge problems. And the progressive, I guess, machine has had decades and trillions, and they've made it worse in every single place. I would think maybe have a little humility and ask for help. Ask for your parents' help. Those are the Republicans. Maybe consider that something you're doing might be wrong, or maybe just give somebody else a chance to try. It's like the left on these issues, they're like the one pool table at a dive bar, and they're a lousy player who won't give it up. And they just spend hours knocking balls around and nothing goes in, but they won't let anybody else play. I've lived in this city for 20 years, and we talk about the mentally ill and the drug addicted. That is incredibly real. I deal with that every day. A woman nearly got murdered around the corner from my apartment. I had a guy shot dead 2 doors down from me. I don't know who did that. I don't even know if they found the guy. If you're not convinced by this, by women being pushed in front of the subway by insane men who are not, in fact, insane, Why did they choose somebody weaker, a woman? They never push a man. They only push a woman. So that's not insanity. They understand that they are more safe if they choose a weaker target. If you can't even be convinced by that, then you are the problem. But there's the other part of this, and that nobody wants to talk about because it makes you sound so cold. There are people who aren't crazy living on the streets. They've gamed the system. They get free stuff. They steal stuff. They hang out in Washington Square Park. They buy their drugs. They're there. If the weather's nice, they're there. They screw up small businesses. They sleep on your street. They move. Unlike the sick, they deserve no pity. And when a tourist comes in there and gives them money, it drives me insane because I want to go to where you live and I want to indulge a panhandler on your front lawn and see how you like it. Dude, the homeless industrial complex lives off these people, and it is time to stop. And we don't care if it makes us mean because that's the only form of compassion there is.
Jessica, what did you give that homeless person the other day?
Yes. Oh, my God.
Tell the audience what you gave.
A salad.
A radicchio salad.
Jesse didn't know what radicchio was.
Jessica.
And
No,
he
I
was
didn't know what it was. I thought
You
it was
both
like
didn't
I thought
know.
it was a radish.
But
Oh my gosh.
don't worry, Brian then gave him money to go buy a hamburger because it's not nice to just get a salad. No one wants that.
No.
Apparently.
you know what he did? He spent that on fentanyl.
Yeah, totally. I gave a burger once to a homeless guy and he threw it back at me and was like, I said no, or something.
Well,
I mean,
to be
that's the
fair,
thing. I stopped doing it.
To
If
be
there's sleepiness,
fair,
then
Don
no.
Lemon recognized you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.